It's October, and I still don't have the R5. But it's coming tomorrow! Welcome. If you're new to my channel, I talk about cameras, mirrorless and DSLR cameras specifically for video. Definitely consider subscribing if you like to talk about that stuff. I'll try to give you like tips, tricks to using these cameras, as well as talking about the new stuff coming out. Now, before I get started with this video, I just wanted to say that it has been a long wait and I'm super excited about the R5 coming tomorrow. So I'm going to do a lot of tests. I had some footage from the previous time I had the R5 before I had to return it. And I was going to do a lot of tests with that. But then when I got notification that I'm actually getting it, hopefully tomorrow, depending on if they deliver on weekends, it will probably be even better because I'll get to test specific modes that I didn't have a chance to test when I originally had the camera. So definitely check that out. But today's topic, today's story that we're going to stick to is fixing my camera, the 5D, and in particular, it got so bad that the cops got involved. So let's start this story straight from the beginning. Now this is a 100% true story. This actually happened to me and to my 5D Mark IV. And if you stick around towards the end, you'll see how the police and assault charges were involved. Got kind of crazy. So, okay. Of course. Now I'm probably brighter thanks to one of my lights going out, but let me start this story. So, in 2019, early 2019, I had the 5D Mark IV for a shoot that I was doing in a coffee house because one of the owners wanted me to do a quick social media video. When I was producing that, I put my 5D Mark IV on a GorillaPod and put it on a stand. That then caused the camera to fall. Now the 5D Mark IV fell right on the microphone port, and I had the Video Mic Pro from Rode connected to it, so that port kind of fell right on the port and destroyed that microphone in port. So the camera still worked. I mean, the 5D Mark IV is a really strong DSLR, but unfortunately it could no longer accept a microphone in. So I'm like, well, I record externally most of the time, so I shouldn't have a problem. I'll just leave it like that. But then after a while, not having that port frustrated me, so I said, you know what, I need to fix this microphone port because vlogging with this camera without that microphone port makes it really inconvenient. And I took the camera to Canon Professional Services. And when I took it in, they said, okay, we'll fix it and we'll treat you great. And to my surprise, within a day, I got a phone call because Canon's actual location is not too far from where I live. They said, your camera's fixed. So I'm like, yes, camera's fixed. Going to pick it up. Picked it up the next day, and I'm like, all right. Took it with me, did all the menus. I put the microphone into the microphone port. I'm like snapping my fingers. I'm like, yep, it seems to be responding. Looks good. Then I go through my menus, and I see that Canon log is no longer installed on my 5D Mark IV. Now, it was installed previously. I was hugely disappointed. So, went back, placed another phone call, and I'm like, hey, I need Canon log put back in. I have the proof that I purchased it. They told me to take it in the next day. I did. Then the woman was like, oh yeah, we figured we forgot something. She was super nice though. Within that same day, I was able to pick up my camera with Canon log installed, and I'm like, great, all is fixed. So I kept on recording videos for this channel and doing videos projects, and I always had my Zoom H4n as backup. So Zoom H4n usually did most of the recording externally, and then I just kind of recorded off the Canon every once in a while, like directly. But when I would actually attach my Video Mic Pro onto the Canon 5D Mark IV, it looked like it was recording audio, so I never noticed it was a problem. And then one day, I got tired of using the Zoom H4n and then syncing the audio in post. I just wanted to record directly to the camera and then edit a couple of quick videos. And I noticed that the audio quality was very poor. not really poor, but it was much poorer than that quality that I expected when using the Rode video mic. I knew it has a lot of bass and it lacked that bass. And I was wondering, what is going on? So then and then my suspicions were like, oh no, this port's not working. So I took the microphone and I connected it to the 5D Mark IV and I turned it off. Now, if you turn off the camera when you connect it into the microphone port, you shouldn't get any response. It should just be dead. And I can see the audio meters. And when I start snapping my fingers, I can see that it's getting that audio. And then I start rubbing like the end of the microphone just to see if it picks up any of that noise. And nothing. And then I rubbed the camera to see if it picked up my fingers rubbing against its onboard microphone, and it was picking that noise up. So it seems that they didn't fix it successfully. That was frustrating because I had it for such a long time and I didn't realize it had that issue. So this was over 6 months, so my limited warranty was done, but who's going to notice that, right? So early 2020, yes, it was earlier this year, February about, I bring it back to Canon because I not only had that issue, which I had paid them to fix, I had that issue existing again, but still wasn't fixed. And I had my 24-70 f2.8 lens messed up. So it was like two things at once. I actually made a live stream about it earlier this year saying I gotta fix this camera, it's broken. So I took it into Canon and they were sympathetic towards my plight with the fact that I couldn't detect that I had that issue. Who would think to do it that type of test, right? I'm not a service guy. So they actually hooked me up with a nice discount to fix that and the lens, which would have been the price to fix the lens alone, but because they knocked down both prices competitively, it was like, sure, they charged me for both, but it's like they only charged me to fix the lens, which I was super happy about. They screwed it up, but then I didn't take it in for a long time. I wish I did a more thorough check, but who knew? But that's not where the story ends. So next day I get the camera back. Camera looks good. Camera, I do the audio test. I did it right in front when I picked it up because I didn't want that to happen. Apparently it worked, it was good, and I brought the camera home and I've done mostly videos with it. But then I decided to take my first photo about a month later, and it was during the beginning of this pandemic that we're all going through. And when I looked through the viewfinder, I normally do where I pick like my focus points. It has 61 autofocus points, I think 41 cross type, correct me if I'm wrong, and nothing was showing up. I couldn't see. Normally you can see like your ISO, your shutter speed, aperture through the viewfinder as well as your autofocus points, but nothing came up. Once again, something else went wrong after fixing it. Now this was well over a year since I originally sent it to fix, and I was very frustrated. So I'm like, fine, I guess I have to get it fixed. But I didn't want to mail it. I was very concerned with the way things were in the mailing system early during the pandemic, so I placed a phone call pretty much a month or two later, and I told them about the issue, and they said, you're still within warranty, send it back. Even that I wasn't comfortable with. I kind of waited for a little bit, and I'm glad I made the call just so that there was record that I did call that there was a problem. But then there was a notice on Canon's website that showed that, hey, they reopened that office to take in cameras. And I'm like, okay, if I give them the camera, there's no risk of it getting damaged because I didn't package it correctly. And that was my main concern, and that's just me and my paranoia. So I brought the box over to Canon, and this was late August, right around the time, I gave it to them right around the time that I was going to get the R5, so I still had a camera to substitute. Granted, I have a few cameras using the Blackmagic, but still I wanted a Canon camera that was high level for taking photographs. I had to actually photo shoot with the R5, which would have been the 5D the weekend I had the R5. So I'm glad I was able to swap at least temporarily. Anyway, back to the point. I gave it to them, I explained what happened. They said, okay, you should be covered because, again, it was within warranty. But I'm frustrated because it's like, why am I getting the camera back with problems? Every time I'm getting the camera back, there's another issue. So turns out that because of the pandemic, they're not doing any service in that facility. They still had to send it to Virginia, which is their main facility. But I'm like, okay, fine, at least they do it. So I send the camera, and it took about a week and a day. Obviously, because of limited resources, I didn't expect it back quickly. But I received the camera back, and I received the camera back shortly after I sent back the R5. It was like I sent back the R5, I got back my 5D like a day later. And I'm excited, like I got my camera. I checked the viewfinder. Viewfinder's working with all autofocus points again. So I'm like, great. I checked the microphone, start snapping my fingers. It's picking up audio. But then I made a quick recording. And after that quick recording, I checked the audio and I'm like, the audio sounds bad again. What was it? Well, the problem that I had mentioned in the beginning when I first got it back was the same problem where the microphone port was not working. It was just picking up the audio, the onboard camera audio. Frustrated yet again, I immediately called them and I'm like, you fixed one problem and broke another, my original problem. So they were like, fine, send it back. So I send it back. They get the camera back and they're like inspecting it and whatever, and I'm here just waited a couple days. And this is also, and I called them consistently because on a side note, they kept on screwing up my home address. And that was frustrating. They kept on thinking that I actually lived in like my old addresses, so I had to track the camera because they in their system, they were not updating my new address and it kept defaulting to the old one. I almost didn't get my camera back at all. Anyway, so I followed up. They got it. They'll start working on it. No charge to me because within warranty. So again, thanks, Canon. Then I receive an email a couple days later. They're like, our service technicians cannot find anything wrong with the microphone port. Can you send in your microphone to see if it's your microphone that's the issue? We'll send you a free shipping label so you could just send over your microphone. I was fuming. I was like, are you kidding me? Don't you know how to do this test to make sure the audio? I mean, I was flipping mad because of how long it took. If this was like the first time, I would have been calm, but I was flipping mad. So I told them, use a powered microphone. Turn that microphone off, but connect it to the camera, and then snap your fingers. If it's still picking up audio, that's because it's picking up the onboard audio. So I sent them that, and they did not reply. They replied a day later saying, we fixed it, sending it back to you. So it turns out that they were not doing that service check. But hopefully, I mean, after all the issues that I sent it to them for, maybe this time the 5D would be free of issues? Well, that's where we get to the culmination of all of this with the 5D drama. So I checked the tracking. I see the day that Fedex is going to deliver it to my building. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. I'm just waiting for it on the mail. And I'm checking the tracking constantly because, I'm not hearing from them for most of the day. And it was about 1 p.m. and I didn't hear from them. Usually they deliver in the morning. But then when I checked the tracking changed from, expected to deliver. And I was home the whole time to nobody was there. They'll have to attempt a redelivery. And I was like, are you kidding me? I was fuming. But since I was early enough, because again, I really wanted that camera back, I called FedEx. And FedEx said, okay, we'll see. We'll try to get the guy back. He should have definitely buzzed you. I'm like, yeah, I get packages here all the time. So then I received a phone call 2 hours later because they said that they would call me back and they would update the tracking. The woman says, here's the juicy part, you live in a dangerous neighborhood. And here's the story that she told me. After I was like, what the heck are you talking about? She's like, our FedEx driver came to your location, and your buzzer wasn't working, which was true. The buzzer had stopped working for a little while, but again, people let the FedEx guy in all the time, and he still had access to the building. Actually, I thought that they had remote access. Anyway, she goes on. Because of that, the FedEx driver buzzed another apartment, and a gentleman came down, and that gentleman who came down asked what the FedEx driver wanted. The FedEx driver said, I wanted to deliver to this different apartment and it wasn't working. Well, then that gentleman who came to talk to the FedEx driver, because the FedEx driver buzzed their apartment, starts yelling at the FedEx driver. And it got so intense that this person assaulted the FedEx driver. Excuse me? What? Yes. They assaulted the FedEx driver, and our FedEx driver is filing a police report, and they're gonna go straight home after this. If you want, you can pick it up at a CVS that's actually nearby. That CVS was like 10 blocks away. Short drive, long walk. And I was like, what happened? How did this happen? Where are they now? They're at the police station, and they are not going to deliver. I said, I'll wait for the guy downstairs. I need that camera. Did anything happen to my package? Lo and behold, you'd think I'd have sympathy for the guy getting assaulted, which I particularly don't believe, because actually this studio, which is where I was at the time that he was attempting to deliver, I would hear everything that's happening right in my front door anyway. So I don't believe that happened, and that would have caused a huge ruckus, as you'd imagine. But we'll go with her story. So she said he's at the police station and he's not coming back because your neighborhood's too dangerous. Okay, so she's like, maybe we'll bring it back tomorrow. I'm like, no, I need it today. So I ended up going to that CVS where FedEx does drop-offs and picked up the camera. I checked the camera, look at the viewfinder, look at the microphone, look at everything, try recording, try the 2 card slots. I mean, I'm like checking everything. And I had no issues. Finally, after over a year of servicing, I had no issues with the 5D Mark IV. That took too long, in fact, longer than it should have. And then that drama that happened with FedEx is concerning, which is why the fact that my R5 is also arriving by FedEx makes me nervous. Hopefully there's no other assault that happens. Anyway, long story short, and the point of this story, if you ever have to service your camera, be it Canon, be it Panasonic, be it anyone, Sony, make sure that when you get it back, that you check and do a diagnostic as much as you possibly can with your camera. Check the viewfinder, check the microphone port, check the headphone jack, check all the recording modes, check the onboard recording, because honestly, they, while fixing one thing, can screw something else up for you. And don't be like me and try to do it when it's too late, because then you're gonna end up paying the price one way or another. Anyway, that's my story. I've got a lot of exciting content coming soon with the R5 and with other things. One of the last things I mentioned is that Nikon rumors have like a Z6 and Z7 Mark II rumor that's coming out, where they're going to be like the same sensor, but they're going to have an updated processor. My opinion on that stuff, not exciting. They don't have a flip screen. They're still kind of archaic, and if they don't advance their usability towards video creators, especially because video creators are actually pretty popular nowadays, they're a small piece of the market, but they're the ones that are willing to splurge a lot of money to get the video features that they want. You're gonna have trouble. Plus the fact that nowadays cameras seem to be ever so important for streaming or web conferencing and stuff like that. So that's just my opinion on Nikon. Not impressed. That's all I got to say about that. Anyway, thank you guys. Let me know if you guys have had some interesting service stories. It would be fun to hear. And yes, everything I just told you actually happened. And it happened not too long ago. So let me know, and thank you guys once again for subscribing. To all my new subscribers, thank you for joining. And as always, you can make my day if you subscribe today. This is Magnus, and I'm out. See you next time. Always with a loud motorcycle.